Hey there friends, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something most of us have done at least once, if not 1,000 times, knuckle cracking. You know, that's satisfying when you stretch your fingers or crack your knuckles. We've all been there, but have you ever wondered, is knuckle cracking actually bad for you? For years, we've heard rumors that cracking your knuckles will lead to arthritis, make your hands weak, or even cause long-term damage to your joints. But is that really the case? Or is knuckle cracking just another one of those myths we've all been afraid of for no good reason? Well, grab your favorite snack and settle in because today we're going to break down the science, myths, and reality of knuckle cracking. By the end of this video, you'll know if you should crack on or if it's time to let those knuckles rest. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get into whether knuckle cracking is harmful or not, we first need to understand what's actually going on when you crack your knuckles. So, let's get into the anatomy of the situation. When you crack your knuckles, you're dealing with synovial joints. These joints, like the ones in your fingers, are surrounded by a special fluid called synovial fluid, which helps lubricate your joints and keeps them moving smoothly. But here's where it gets interesting. This fluid also contains gases like oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. Now, when you pull or stretch your fingers, you're creating more space in the joint, which leads to a sudden change in pressure. And when that pressure drops quickly, it causes the gases dissolved in the fluid to form bubbles. The bubbles get too big and pop. You hear that satisfying crack or snap, so all that noise you're hearing, it's just gas bubbles collapsing. It's not bone or cartilage grinding, which means it's not as dangerous as people think. Alright, now that we know what's going on inside the joints, let's tackle some myths that have been floating around for ages. Time to separate fact from fiction. This is the big one. If you crack your knuckles, you're gonna get arthritis. We've all heard it at some point, probably from well-meaning relatives. But here's the truth. No, knuckle cracking does not cause arthritis. There's actually been a lot of scientific research on this, and multiple studies have shown that cracking your knuckles doesn't lead to osteoarthritis, which is the most common type. In fact, a 2011 study published in Reviewed Research on Knuckle Cracking and found no link between it and arthritis. And here's a fun one. Dr. Donald Unger, who cracked only one hand for 60 years, found no signs of arthritis in either hand at the end of the study. If that's not solid proof, I don't know what is. Let's talk about another myth. Cracking your knuckles makes your hands weak. Well, wrong again. Studies, including one published in PLOS One, have found no correlation between knuckle cracking and weakened hand strength. So, go ahead and keep cracking. Your grip strength is just fine. But here's where it gets a little tricky. If you're cracking your knuckles constantly or doing it forcefully, you might end up irritating the soft tissues around the joint. That could lead to some temporary discomfort, but it won't affect the long-term strength of your hands. Now, some people argue that cracking your knuckles might damage your joints. The idea here is that it might cause your bones to rub against each other or that the sound could be a sign of internal damage. Here's the fact. No, cracking your knuckles does not damage the joint cartilage. The cracking sound comes from gas bubbles in the synovial fluid, not from bones or cartilage rubbing together. So there's no structural damage happening when you crack your knuckles. That said, if you're cracking your knuckles with a ton of force, it could cause some soft tissue irritation. But that's temporary, so use common sense. Don't yank on your fingers too hard. Now that we've busted some myths, let's talk about the benefits. Is there any upside to cracking your knuckles? Or is it just a random habit with no purpose? Well, for many people, cracking your knuckles feels good, and there's a reason for that. It's like a quick little stress relief session for your hands. It can help release tension in the fingers or the joints, which might explain why some people crack their knuckles when they're stressed or anxious. It's like a mini self-care move for your hands. Some people also claim that cracking their knuckles helps them feel less stiff and more flexible. There's no evidence that cracking your knuckles improves joint mobility long-term, but in the moment, it might give you that satisfying release of tension. Alright, everything's not always sunshine and rainbows, so let's look at some of the potential downsides of cracking your knuckles. First, let's be clear. If you're doing it excessively or with too much force, you might experience some mild discomfort or even swelling in your fingers. In rare cases, people have reported some ligament irritation, but that's usually temporary and goes away on its own. Also, if you find yourself cracking your knuckles all the time, it could be a sign of underlying stress or anxiety. it's always worth paying attention to why you might be doing it frequently. So, now that we've gone through all the myths, facts, and benefits, should you stop cracking your knuckles altogether? The truth is, you don't have to stop, but maybe just do it responsibly. Cracking your knuckles occasionally isn't going to hurt you. In fact, it's not dangerous at all, and if it helps you feel less tense, it can even be a little bit of a stress reliever. However, don't overdo it. If it starts to hurt, or if it's causing discomfort, maybe ease up. Listen to your body. So there you have it. You can go ahead and keep cracking those knuckles, as long as you're not going overboard. It's harmless, doesn't cause arthritis, and might even feel good. But like everything in life, moderation is key. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts. Do you crack your knuckles? Or are you a knuckle-cracking skeptic? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep your hands happy, your stress low, and don't worry about the cracks. See you in the next video. Know more. Be more.